First thing I'm going to do is start off with our ODs for the month of March, and we had 19 deaths and 3 suicides. So the numbers have shot up a whole lot. So I'll be in touch with a lot of you. I'll have some stuff coming out, and I'm going to be talking to each one individually about that. So I'll get with you on that in a later time. First on our agenda is approved minutes. Commissioner Reed.
Mr. Chairman, each member has received a copy of the minutes, and the minutes are on our iPad this evening if anybody wants to look at them. Mr. Chairman, I've read through these. I've not found any errors, and nobody has told me of anything. Mr. Chairman, I move for their approval.
I have a motion. I got a second. Second. Commissioner Johnson. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Moving on. I'd like to announce one vacancy for the Emergency Communications District Board. It'll be a 4-year term to expire May 22, 2022. Do we have anybody in here for what? Before I get started on the next one, I need to have a roll call. So, sorry guys, trying to blow it through here.
Commissioner Cush. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner McAdoo. Here. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Rather.
Here.
Chairman Harris.
Here. All right, do I have anybody from the Judicial, come on up, ma'am. And let me tell you what I'm trying to do here. We had been talking about our judicial commissioners and how we had wanted to be a little bit more transparent and to look at our judicial commissioners a little bit. So I've asked the Jacob Flatt to bring a representative up here so that you are better informed on Ms. Cole that we're getting ready to vote for. So state your name and yeah. State your name and tell us a little bit about Ms. Cole, if you don't mind.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Kaufman. I am Jacob Flatt's assistant at the Judicial Commissioner's Office. Savone Cole has been our employee for 11 years. She is not only working full-time for us, she is obtaining a master's in social work. She has been a diligent, dependable employee from day one. We have no reservations whatsoever regarding her confirmation and appointment. She is the ideal employee that everyone would want to have.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, we are voting for the appointment of Savone Cole as Judicial Commissioner. Do I have a motion? Mr. Johnson, we got a second? Commissioner Cush. Go ahead and roll call this.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Rather.
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo. Yes. Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Cush.
Yes.
Chairman Harris.
Yes. Moving on, gentlemen, on your iPads, we have a litigation list. Is there any questions on this list that you're wanting to know about? Okay, I do. Nick, I want to know about the Grumpy Bell Bonds lawsuit.
Yes, sir. From last month, I still don't have an update for this committee. We are awaiting the court's decision on our motion to dismiss that case. It's been pending for quite some time. The state of Tennessee is also a defendant in that case. If Chairman, if you'll recall, the plaintiffs sued every single judge in this judicial district, both in General Sessions Court and State Court, which is fairly unheard of. But at any rate, we have filed a pleading with the court telling the court that we believe that there's no claim here and it should be dismissed, and we're just waiting for that court opinion. Okay, and I have one more. And this is with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, and I'm sure you are know about this, Smart Communications versus Rutherford County. Yes, Chairman. So that is one that it's a little old. That is one where a software company sued Rutherford County for use of a particular software dealing with inmate communications within the jail and commissary items. The county, because of the very specialized area of law that case deals with, namely patent law, IP, intellectual property law, hired an outside lawyer, and that case has just been litigated. To my knowledge, it's still ongoing. The county was able to obtain what's called indemnification from the creator of the software, where the creator of the software agreed to pay for all of Rutherford County's attorney's fees that were incurred in defending this lawsuit. And that has been happening. So even though the county has its own lawyer, the software company that generated the software that we're using that allegedly infringes, they have been paying that attorney's bills.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's move on. Sonya, come on up. This is our HR report.
Good evening. So I handed out the HR snapshot, which is just a highlight of what we've done this year so far, activities within the office. For ADA-related requests, whether that be an accommodation, interpreter for hearing impaired for courts, or whatever other items within that, we had 9 different activities. Personnel changes, we had 10. That's promotions within departments throughout the month. We had 10 promotions throughout the county for the month of March. Benefits, we had 39 different benefits, whether it be grief assistance for somebody who may have lost a family member, sick leave donations, assistance with Social Security applications, and also retirement applications. So we had several of those during this month. Community involvement, there were 5 different activities. Activities with the Chamber of Commerce, Read to Succeed, Tennessee Achieves. Employees within the department do things to give back to the community to make sure that not only HR is represented in the community, but also we're representing Rutherford County. Our events, the number of participants, we gave out 119 awards this in the month of March. Annually, we do an employer recognition event, and that's where we recognize our employees who have milestone anniversaries, 5, 10, 15, and so on, or who retired. COVID continued to create issues, and by the time it got time for our event this year, it was too late for us to schedule without everybody being booked. So the 119 that we've given out already are for those departments that have 24-hour operations, and Mayor Ketron and I will go out to the other departments and hand those out individually to each of those departments the remainder of this month. Leave, under leave, we had 87 different requests, whether it be for extended leave. We had 74 FMLAs that we processed, and anybody who's been in HR knows that the FMLA application process is lengthy. It's multiple steps and it's ongoing. So we've got 87 of those right now. Legal services, those are any number of things from a personnel complaint to a Title VI complaint, those type things. We had 11. Offboarding, turnover, we had 44 of those activities. Exit, we had 22 exit interviews, 20 resignations or terminations, separations, and 2 retirements. Onboarding, we had 115 processes for onboarding this month. That's whether it be boards, committees, new hires, poll workers, setting up for the elections. Policy changes, we
Sonya,
had, yes. Sir.
Excuse me for interrupting you. On onboarding,
Yes, sir.
this is just a question I have. Whenever we have a new hire, I'm sure they're set down and explained to what they're going to receive and all that. Do they receive written copy of what they're going to be making and how much they're going to receive and all this?
Yes, sir. We do offer letters. So when the employee is hired, we do an offer letter that we have them sign on that they're accepting the conditions of the offer. And in that, we outlined what benefits they will receive, their sick and annual days, that their eligibility, if eligible, you know, if they're part-time, the eligibility is different. We do not send offer letter to boards and committees, but we do for our part-time and full-time employees. And then used to, pre-COVID, we would have an in-person orientation where we would go over the high points of the employee handbook. We would have insurance come up. We would go over on-the-job injury. But when COVID came and we couldn't meet in person, we created a video. The mayor actually does a welcome speech to them, welcomes them to the county, and then we have videos that go over the things that we used to do in person. We do that. They get the copies of their employee handbook at that point in time. So it's a pretty lengthy process for them, yes.
Well, I was just wondering if we had gotten back to some of that since the pandemic, and back to explaining to people exactly what you have and what you'll be receiving.
Well, we've never quit doing that, but we're just not doing the in-person activities at this point.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Okay. Policy changes, we've already talked about that one. Promotions, and that's special promotions and activities. From time to time, people within the community will want to offer our employees a special benefit, whether it be a discount on an apartment or tickets to Dollywood or something like that. We had 3 of those in the month of March. Recruitment, we processed and received 220 applications. We did 54 declination letters, 48 interviews, and 25 job postings, and those are things that just happen within our office. Doesn't take into account what the departments do. Reports and surveys, we had 339 of those. Of those, 162 of them were open records requests. New hire reporting was 19. Exit interview notices were 22. Background checks were 33. Title VI reports were 42, and then there were other reports that make up the total. Special projects, we had 16 special projects. We've been doing a military audit, a legislative audit, updating the HR's website, and a badge project to make sure that all of our employees have badges to secure with their faces and everything on their badges. Evaluation and testing, we had 110 of those different activities. That could be anything from a physical to MMPI to a drug test, any number of the testings. Title VI, 42, we had 42 different requests for languages in the court system, and so we provided those interpreters for them. Languages such as Arabic, Bengali, Jamaican, Korean, Laotian, Spanish, Somalian, are some, to name a few of the languages that we use. We have about 39 languages that we currently provide to the courts this year. Training, we had 77 training opportunities that we had with the employees throughout the county as well. And that concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Need a motion to approve this report. Commissioner Cush, I need a second. Commissioner Reed. All those in favor say aye. All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on to her budget.
Okay, one of the things that I usually provide, and I didn't realize till I was looking down at this that I didn't bring it with me, is a 10-year budget progression. I've done this ever since I started at the county to say, you know, how HR has progressed along the way and how we've managed our budget dollars. And so this year, when I did my budget progression versus prior year, the budget that we're requesting for all items except salary-related items, this is just the other items that we manage, the budget is $38,705 less than it was last year. And that's for items like the in-service training, maintenance agreements, postal, travel, training, all the things that we do for the county. So I always think that that's interesting, and I've got copies of this that I'll send out to each of you because I didn't bring all the copies with me tonight, but it is interesting to see. On the budget that we requested, the high points on this, the things that are different is, or significantly different, is one of the requests that we have is, as we continue to grow and evolve across the county and the things that we're doing for our departments to try to make sure that we're in compliance and more legislative constraints against our office and having to make sure that we're being in compliance with the state and the federal government, the policies. I actually showed the mayor in our weekly meeting last week. We've got a packet, I mean, it's about from the state that's just like hundreds of pages that we have to go through to make sure that HR is in compliance. And so one of the things that I'm requesting is we have an HR specialist within our office who does all our job postings, and she handles the beginning of the setting up the employee in the system all the way through, from the posting of the jobs to their new hire stuff. One of my concerns was, and we found this during COVID, was that when somebody was out sick, you got this one person that knows how to do, we weren't 3 deep. So like I knew how to do pieces of it, Lindsay knew how to do it, but to have somebody in there to make sure that it's day in and day out. So what I had looked at in our office is from a strategic standpoint, like what's going to be best long-term for the county, is if we took our other 2 positions that are full-time and made them benefit specialists and assign all 3 of those individuals departments. Like it may be one of the specialists handle all of our constitutional officers, one of our departments one of the specialists handles all of the sheriff's office, the bigger departments. And that way 3 people are trained in depth on the posting process, the new hire process, and then they would also be the offboarding. So it would be, and I'll just use Mr. Mitchell since he's in the room. If Mr. Mitchell, for his employee, this specialist would be the beginning to the end for his department and his employees. So they know they always need to call Jenny or they always need to call Judy. So my request is to do that. In addition, I would streamline some of the other tasks so that we're 3 deep. I'm trying to get 3 deep in all of our processes. If something happens to me, somebody can step in my absence and so on. And we're making good strides at it, but I think this is the next piece that we need. So that's the biggest request that I have, is to go for those 2 employees, to move those 2 employees up. The other changes on here, actually the evaluation and testing line item, I reduced it this year. A couple of years ago, we put in place, we came before the steering committee and asked to do an acknowledgement and agreement form. And when somebody gets hired, they sign this form. If they don't stay with the county for 1 year, they have to reimburse the county for all their new hire processes, their drug screens, their background checks, all the things that comes with it, unless we terminate. If we ask them to leave, they don't have to repay it. But if they come and work for us for 8 months and decide they want to go to the next county, well, then they need to reimburse us for those costs. And because of that, there has been a savings to the county that's gone back into, and it's been a pretty significant. In fact, if it continues to work this year, I'll reduce it again next year.
I'd like to ask a question on that.
Okay, yes, sir.
So you're saying that you're getting this money back if they leave. How are you doing that? So, for instance, they get paid and then they quit. We eat it, right?
No.
How do you get that money back?
So what happens is the departments usually know before the payroll. I mean, they don't get their paycheck and then quit, because then our paycheck is 2 weeks behind.
Okay.
And so what happens is when they quit, then finance knows. We put that acknowledgement letter on there that they've signed and agreed to it. So finance has that. So whenever they leave, and it's specific to each department, because each department's costs are different. I mean, not every department does an MMPI, and those are expensive. And so finance has the agreement that they signed, and so whenever they leave, then they pull out their sheet and see what the cost was for that they agreed to, and that's what they reimburse for.
Okay.
The other thing is when we do special trainings, and the sheriff's office has their own for the post-certification, but other departments, we've set up an agreement. If their training costs, some of the trainings that we send our employees to is pretty expensive, $500 to $1,200. They sign that when they go to the training. They have to stay with us a year to offset that difference. If they don't stay with us for a year, then they have to reimburse us. So we're trying to make sure that we're being mindful that we're training our people, but you got some teeth in the game as well to make sure that we're taking care of the county dollars. So doing some of these things has helped some of our cost, to save some of our cost.
So you're at, so you were $604,000 last year, and you're asking for $628,000 this year?
Let's see.
That's correct.
Is that correct? Your recommendation on this?
Yes, sir. She has brought us a very good conservative budget, and it has my full recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there any questions on this budget? None? One more, yeah.
Actually, my amended budget for this year, for the year that we're in right now, is $656,699. So my actual budget is less than at $628,218.
Okay.
Less than.
That's why I said conservative.
Conservative, yes, I'm sorry.
Good job. We got a motion to approve this budget, send it to Budget and Finance. Commissioner Johnson, do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Cush. Since it's dealing with money, we'll have to do a roll call.
Commissioner McAdoo? Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes?
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Chairman Harris?
Yes. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
All right, I had a old agenda, so I had to move around a little bit. I want to go to number 2. This is a resolution authorizing a continuous 4-year reappraisal cycle. I'm going to let the mayor comment on this.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mitchell's here, so if you want to bring him, suspend the rules to allow him to come forward and talk about this and answer any questions. But I do have a copy of it for my signature and the clerk, but this will travel on to the full commission for approval. If approved here tonight, it will go straight to the full commission floor, so let Mr. Mitchell
Go ahead, Rob.
talk about this.
Thank you. Yes, it's our quadrennial reappraisal plan. We do it once every 4 years, and we're required to present the plan along with a memorandum of understanding of what the county is going to provide as required by the state. So it's here for the commissioners to review. If you approve it, it go on to the full commission, and then we'll send it to the state for their review and their approval at the State Board of Equalization, and they will be up and running for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions? All right. All those in favor, say aye. Oppose? All right. Send that to the full commission. All right, let's go get to our last thing on our agenda is commissioner compensation for extra meetings. Chairman Phillips asked to have the floor. I graciously approve. There you go. See, you're already on the same path.
I can understand why some folks would look at the agenda and say, oh, God, we're looking at a pay increase, and it's anything but. So let me clarify that the school board, as an example, they pay a certain amount for their regular monthly meeting, and if they have any other meetings, they pay that at half price. We, as a commission, don't have that language in our policies and procedures. And I think it might be best as we go forward. It's not been an issue, let me just say that. If I'm not mistaken, Mayor Ketron, the last special call meeting that the county commission had was in 2012. Mayor Burgess called a special meeting to have a public hearing and make a decision on our comprehensive plan, if my memory serves me right. We may have had one since then, but I can't recall one. So it's not been an issue, but going forward, it could be an issue simply because of all of the things this county's facing, especially our landfill issue. An example, what if Republic called the mayor next week and said, we're shutting this thing down next month? The mayor, in all probability, would say, we got to react. And he might call a special meeting of the county commission. That would be the second meeting of a month. Our policies don't have any way to compensate that other than to pay at full commission meeting rate, which is currently $500. What I'm talking about is putting language into that to say if we have a special call meeting or a second meeting of each month, we pay that at committee meeting rate, which currently would be $250. So we wouldn't draw full salary At $500, we would draw half salary according to the policy the way it is right now. So if anything, this is a pay reduction versus a pay increase. I think it would add clarity to our policy, which is really kind of unclear right now. And it's important that we do it effective somewhere around the September 1st for the new commission, while the new commission will be seated. It won't affect this commission, and it won't affect any back pay in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I think it's important that we at least have that discussion, and the place for it to start is here in the steering committee. So that's what we're talking about. It'll just add clarity. It'll make sure that as we go forward and we need to conduct a special meeting for whatever reason, whether it's the mayor, the chairman of the committee, of the commission, or even the chairman pro tem feels the need to call a special meeting. And this will be a regular meeting, but it'll be a special meeting where we'll have advertise it, where we'll have the secretary take minutes, where we'll have an agenda, and you can reach decisions, those types of things. It won't affect any informational type of meetings. Take, for example, the meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, Mike, that related to the new roof system. I think Robert P. put that together, and Mayor Ketron participated in it. We're having a meeting with this new roof company to talk about roofs. Come if you want to. Has no effect on those type of meetings. They're all non-compensated, always have been, and in my mind always will be. So what we're talking about is any second or special call meetings of the county commission would be compensated at a committee rate, only at a committee rate. And we do something similar. I think the Public Works Committee has had a number of special call meetings as they've been dealing with the landfill and the garbage issue for a pretty good while, the last couple of years anyway. I think our Budget Committee also meets multiple times this time of year, and they compensate at normal committee meeting rates. So this would be very similar to that. And with your permission, and I'd like for you guys to tell me what you want me to do, we could have our county mayor, our county attorney, put together a resolution, and we could present that later on this summer, where it might take effect somewhere around September 1st for the seating of the new commission. So that's what this is all about, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? None? So you're asking us to approve this and send it to budget, or you're asking us for a resolution tonight?
No, I'm asking, you don't even have to make that decision tonight. We've got time. If you want to think about it and then talk about it some more, that's just fine. But what I'd like is the feelings of this committee. Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? And if you think it's a good idea, then let me know. And if you can let me know that tonight, we'll go ahead and start working on that resolution and be able to present it to this committee sometime this summer.
So, Mr. Chairman, so are you kind of like referring, kind of equating this to where the school board has their workshop and we pay them for that? So that's kind of where you're going in this,
Exactly right.
in this direction. Okay. Any questions? Any discussion on this? All right. Is there a motion to send this to the full commission?
Nope.
You're not asking for that?
What I'd like to have is a motion for me, as Chairman Pro Tem, to look at putting together a resolution to bring back to this committee sometime this summer.
All right.
If it's something that you think that the commission would be interested in.
So you're wanting a motion from this body to
Move forward.
to move forward and let you come up with a plan to bring
Resolution.
back to the steering committee.
Right.
Do we have a motion for him to approve him to start this?
Very proactive. So moved.
All right. Second, I got a second from Commissioner Cush. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? There you go, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Once again.
How long do you need? Do you need a month, 2 months? When would you like to bring that report to us again?
I'll just bring it back when it's ready.
It's ready?
It'll have to be sometime this summer.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, just keep in mind as you all think about, deliberate, whatever direction you want to go, is that if you, I believe I'm correct in this, Mr. Attorney, in that if it won't affect this commission, is that correct?
State law specifically prohibits this term of this commission to increase, tinker, do whatever with the commission paid during the current term. So it would not, if you did something this summer before the end of y'all's term, it would not be effective until after the election results are in.
But then, so that statement being made, then I back it up from a chronological standpoint. If this body wants to do that for the next commission, whoever they might be, in order to estimate from a budgeting standpoint, it would need to be done before we set the final tax rate on June 30. Right, otherwise you'd have to come back and amend next year's budget.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the things I'm concerned with, Commissioner Phillips.
That makes sense.
Is we got to have some idea of what to put in the budget to subsidize these meetings.
Well, it'd be an estimate. You know.
I think there's already
Probably some money in there.
money in the budget for any special type of meeting, so I'm not sure that you'd have to do anything special. It could be
Yeah,
something.
I can go back in and get with Lisa, find out how much money is actually in the county commission's budget line item, and, we'll come back and report to you, and I'll let you know.
Very good. Let me just reemphasize this once again, in case any of the press is listening, okay, that the headlines tomorrow should not be that the county commission is seeking a pay increase. If anything, the county commission is seeking clarity, and it would be a reduction in pay from what is on our policies and procedure right now. Everybody clear on that? Thank you.
All right. Is there any other business?
Yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and I'll deal with that right now. I announced a one-year vacancy on the Emergency Communications District, and that it should have been a recommendation from the mayor.
Correct.
So,
Mr. Chairman, so as the 911 board bylaws state that the position that has been held by John Hood since its inception, and John recently retired, the 911 board meets quarterly, and so it says that the county mayor will make the appointment and bring it to the commission. So in this case, and now whether or not the commission, it doesn't say you either accept or you reject. If you reject the person recommended by the mayor, what their bylaws say is that you reject one, then I come back next month and bring you another one until we find one that you can get a majority vote by the full commission to accept the one that the county mayor is recommending. So I'm recommending to replace John Hood. John is, like I said, retired from that board after 40 some odd years. My recommendation is his replacement to be Carl Hudgens, who has recently retired as our EMS director. He already knows dispatch. He understands the language. That is my recommendation to this committee.
okay, gentlemen, I need a motion to approve the mayor's nominee for emergency board. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I second that recommendation.
Second, Commissioner Reed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any new business? Seeing none, we're adjourned.